what we are going to learn, it's better for you to read the whole chapter. That's 1 Samuel chapter 1. So I'll just read verse 2. Elkanah had 2 wives, one named Hannah and the other named Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had none. And then we skip to verse 6 to 7. It says, Hannah's rival provoked her bitterly to irritate and embarrass her, because the Lord had left her childless. So it happened year after year. Whenever she went up to the house of the Lord, Peninnah provoked her, so she wept and would not eat. Just something I would like us to note here is that there are times when you are going through a situation and you are thinking it's the devil and you get into warfare prayers. Sometimes God can shut a door without you realizing it. So when a door is shut, to begin with, don't start by binding. Get to God and ask him. Talk to God. Then you'll be able to know whether it's God or it's the enemy. So can you imagine if Hannah had started by binding and casting? Meanwhile, here we are told that, that is in verse 6 to 7, because the Lord had left her childless, so it was the Lord's doing. So it happened year after year. Whenever she went up to the house of the Lord, Peninnah provoked her, so she wept and would not eat. So in this instance, Hannah decided to give herself completely to the Lord as she prayed at the temple. And we see that in verse 10 and 11. So I'm going to read a few scriptures and we can get into a discussion. If you have something to say, you can lift up your hand and mute your mic and then give an input. But for now, let me just go through this and then we'll be able to have a discussion. We have never done this as Marriage Pillar, and it's our first time. I've used this, and I must confess I'm not very conversant with the system, but I'm trying. So let's see how we're going to go on with this. So from verse 10 to 11, Hannah was greatly distressed, and she prayed to the Lord and wept in anguish. She made a vow saying, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction or the suffering of your maidservant, and remember and not forget your maidservant, but will give your maidservant a son, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life. A razor shall never touch his head. And let's skip to verse 19 to 20. Elkanah knew Hannah, his wife, meaning Elkanah slept with his wife Hannah. So this is, I'm using Amplified Bible, the Amplified version. Elkanah knew Hannah, his wife, and the Lord remembered her prayer. Okay, so as I read, you can begin to underline some of these words. The Lord remembered Hannah. Okay, it came about in due time, after Hannah had conceived, that she gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, saying, because I have asked for him from the Lord. So eventually, okay. So that was up to verse 20. And after reading this, I'm thinking, eventually Anna gets pregnant and she has a son, okay, but she had gone through a lot of pain. That is something of note. We are not told how long Hannah had been married. All we know is that she was a troubled woman. So we have quite a lot to learn from the story of Hannah. There was a time when I shared about Hannah, and I know that I've got the notes, and I know that it's completely different from what I'm going to share today. And like I said earlier, every time we go through the Bible, we always have a different revelation. God speaks to us differently, and there's always something, there's always a word for us in each season. So I see Hannah as a very strong woman who trusts God, all right? And she is married, yet she is still challenged. How many times have you heard people talking about a time, you know, like they can't wait for a time when they will get married so that everything else is going to be fine? It's not a guarantee that when you get married that everything is going to be fine. You will still be challenged in one way or the other. So we see Hannah here. She is married. She has a husband who loves her. I don't think Hannah lacked anything apart from the fact that she was childless. So there's no background that has been given to us about Hannah. And that is what I have taken note of. We are only told that, okay, from the opening, Hannah is married to Elkanah, and Elkanah had another woman called Penina or Penina, and Penina had children. She had sons and daughters, but Hannah had none. So that's all that we are told about Hannah. And from just this passage, we can learn that she's very strong because of the way she's being treated by this other woman. So in her own environment, I have noted that Hannah was troubled. Sometimes trouble is not going to come from outside of your home. Sometimes trouble will come from within your own house. So as we begin to get into the discussion of Hannah and her character, just think about yourself and your situation. She is staying in the same home with somebody who provokes her. And unfortunately, Penina is not apologetic. A person like Penina is not going to be apologetic. That is something that we must learn. So I decided to look up the name Penina, and I wanted to know what it means. Sometimes we may, we give our children names. Okay, I've got somebody. Okay. All right. Okay, that's fine. Thanks for the message. I just got a private message. That's all right. Okay, so we're going to continue. I was just responding to that message. Okay, so I was saying, we give names, we choose the names that we want to give to our children. Okay, for instance, my oldest child is called Towela, and her name is simply means something beautiful. So she was named because she made our world beautiful. Okay, and then my youngest is called Natasha, and it means thank you, we are grateful. And the middle one is called Temwani, which means be happy. So a lot of names have meanings. Some names have no meanings. My middle name has no meaning. I was just named after somebody. So I'm always interested in knowing what somebody's name means, for instance. So just something of encouragement. When you're naming children, don't be so concerned about, you know, who they are being named after, but rather be concerned about the meaning, because sometimes the meaning might have an influence on the child. But in this case, it's not in Penina's case, that's not the case. In Penina's situation, we see Penina's name meaning, okay, Penina's name means jewel or pearl. So it means something beautiful. A jewel is really beautiful. A pearl is beautiful, but she's not a good person. She doesn't have a good heart. So sometimes, yes, the name might not necessarily have an influence on somebody, as we see with Penina. And I wonder why she had to do this. This is one person that Hannah had to endure all her life in that marriage. So in life, we will encounter a lot of Peninas, right? And I don't mean that your husband is going to marry somebody else who's going to turn out to be a Penina, but it will be that person that will provoke you to tears, like we see. If you read the whole chapter of 1 Samuel chapter 1, you're going to see how Penina really mocked Hannah, how she brought so much pain, how she just made sure that her friend didn't even eat, she didn't even have anything to do, and only resorted to praying. So we will encounter those Peninas. You know, those people, an example that I have today and what we are going to talk about is those people that want to compete with you. So as you read on, you're going to discover that it says, Penina considered Hannah a rival. Okay, so a rival is somebody that you want to compete with. Why would Penina want to compete with Hannah? Penina already had children, Hannah had none. So is there even a basis for competition there? But in life, we will always find people that are feeling they are better than us. Okay, not those as Peninas. People that feel they are way above you, people that will want to compete with you. So this is not just within your home setting. This can be in the office, or I'm looking at my time and I'm surprised. Are we all here?
We got a message saying this call has no time limit.
It's got no time limit. Wow. Okay, we thank God. So we're going to proceed. Okay, so this is what the coronavirus is doing. We're even getting free sessions. All right, so I was talking about the kind of peninas that we are going to meet. And what I'm looking at here today that most of us can relate to is not somebody that your husband is going to bring at home, but it's going to be people that you might want to compete with you. So those are the peninas because they're going to bring a lot of pain to you. So these are people that feel they have everything and you don't have. These are people that are going to feel they can speak better than you and you can't express yourself. And these are people that will feel they are way above you and you are nothing. You are nobody. These are people that feel they are way educated than you are. So those are the kind of peninas. Okay, so those are the kind of peninas that I'm talking about. So it's not necessarily somebody that is going to want to challenge you because somebody at the mic's muted. Can you kindly mute your mics? Kindly mute your mics.
No.
Kindly mute your mics.
I don't know what's going on there.
Okay, all right. I just muted everybody again. So we're talking about peninas. Before I forget, I'm talking about those people that want to compete with you. So this is about competition really. And I'm talking about Hannah and Penina. Okay, so there's some people that already know. All right, just responding to somebody. Excuse me for that. So there are already some people that know that they are better than you, but they want to rub it in and they want to mock you in the process. So this is what I'm talking about. Have you ever come across people that know that maybe they are better educated than you and they can speak better? And when you have, for instance, you are in a public place, they want to show that they know better than you. So they keep asking you questions that will embarrass you. That is mockery. And that is what we don't need to do as children of God. But this is what we see any kind of penina doing. So if there are any peninas in your lives, I would suggest that you do away with them, seriously, because why would you want to keep a penina? Okay, there are some peninas that you can't do away with because they are part of the family, okay? But you need to know, you need to learn how to treat them. You need to know how to relate to them. But a penina who is not a family member, somebody that you just work with, you don't give room to those kind of people because these are people that are going to frustrate you. It means you can't progress in the workplace. It means wherever you are going, no matter how well dressed you are, you'll always come back.
But can you please do the other areas? Okay, make a reminder. I didn't hear you.
Little please, this thing is frustrating me. I don't know what's going on.
Sis Maende, are you right? Okay. So, I hope I haven't forgotten what I wanted to say. Okay, next time I'm going to be more careful, and if there will be a next time, we pray that by the time we get our next session, we'll be able to meet in a place and we'll be able to interact even better than we are today. Yes, so talking about people that want to feel better than you are and rubbing it in and embarrassing you. Remember, the scripture is also saying that Penina was intentionally embarrassing Hannah. So when they went out, you know, when they went out to worship in Shiloh, others say Shiloh, you know, these pronunciations. So when they went out there, she would always do things that will embarrass her friend. So she probably passed comments about, hey, you barren woman. Oh, some people who have no children. I mean, people do those kind of things without being sensitive. If you are listening today and you are that kind of a person, firstly, I'm always saying about this, if you are close to people, or if you have friends, you have family, and they have no children, this is not a place to play with. This is not a place where you can come through and even joke about. It is not a joking matter. If somebody is not able to have children, it is not a joking matter. So I would just like to encourage you, or also to remind you, that you can be a Penina without realizing it. You will be provoking somebody to tears. Remember, she wasn't provoking Hannah to fight her back. She was provoking her to tears. So there are certain things that we are also doing to people that, you know, that these things are leading them to tears, and we shouldn't be doing that as children of God. So we really need to search our hearts. What kind of comments do we have, you know? What do we say? Sometimes we get so careless. We just say anything, you know. We pass comments about money. We pass comments about, and I like saying that if something can be changed, it's okay. You can laugh about my hairstyle because tomorrow I can just remove the wig and just shave off my hair, or I can change my hairstyle. If you talk about my outfits, it's okay. I can change. But if we're going to talk about children, how can we change that? If we're going to talk about somebody's, say, facial features or just their bodily appearance, how can we change that? We can't do that. So we shouldn't feel comfortable to make jokes about these things. I remember once, I think I've shared this several times, I went to a baby shower, and at this baby shower, I was reminding the ladies that it's not funny. You know, it's not funny. We can't continue joking about these things because we are provoking people to tears. I also remember a time when I just got married. I think it was 2 months or 3 months down the line. We just got married, and I met one of my husband's relatives. She's not even close. I've never even met her in the 27 years I've known my husband. But this lady came to me, and this was at a bridal party, full view of everybody else, and she looks at me and said, "You still don't have children?" I mean, I was just there for 2 months. I was very frustrated. 2 months and somebody's talking to me like that. So I can only sympathize with those people that have stayed 10 years in a marriage and they've never had children. It's very sad and it is unacceptable, and we can't go on doing that. So we see how Hannah was provoked. So besides people that don't have children, we're talking about people that want to compete with us, okay? So I know Becky is a pastor here, her husband is a pastor, and I know there are some other people that are pastoring churches. I'm sure you know that there are people that want to compete with you. Why would they do that? I mean, everybody has been graced differently. Everybody has different gifts. Everybody has different talents. So we cannot even begin to compare each other. The best we can do is to support one another. So if I see that perhaps you don't have what I have and you need it, how best can I support you, as opposed to being Penina and dragging you to a place where everybody is there to laugh at you. As children of God, we really need to search ourselves and begin to behave the way God wants us to behave. All right, I really miss our normal sessions because by now we would have been talking, but I'm sorry, for the sake of maintaining order and so that we don't get disrupted, I'm talking alone. I wish you could talk back to me, but I'm going to unmute so that those that want to speak can speak. Yes, so what did Hannah do when she was provoked? What was her reaction? So I want you also to think about your reaction when you are provoked. Did she hit back? These are moments when you look at somebody and you want to wring their neck or you want to explode. I always said, when I got annoyed at some point, now I don't get that much annoyed. When I got annoyed sometimes, then I would feel like I was going to explode. My ears would feel hot. I don't know how others feel. So it was a bad experience. But how did Hannah feel staying in the same place? How are you feeling working in a place where people are looking down on you? How are you feeling, you know, being in a family where everybody says all the nasty things about you? What was Hannah's reaction? We can learn from her. So when we look at Hannah, she resorted to prayer. She went to pray. She decided to pray. So at that moment, these people used to go to the temple, and we can see that she was a prayerful woman. But we don't need to go to the temple. As it is right now, Corona has shut down the churches. So we have no choice. We have to pray in our space. We have to pray in our homes. So how should we react when people provoke us to tears? We'd be like Hannah, right? So we get to pray, we get to talk to God. At some point, Eli, who was the temple prophet, thought she was drunk, and she told her, no, he told her, like asking her why she is drinking, like she must quit drinking. But she says, look, I'm pouring out my heart to God. Where do you pour out your heart? Okay, it's okay to find a friend and to pour out your heart to them. But there are times when the situation goes overboard and the situation is non-stop. It's never ending. So Hannah, I'm sure at some point was complaining to her husband, oh, honey, this is what Penina does. And who's this guy? Elkanah, the husband, would probably reason with Penina. And perhaps Hannah would still go and talk to some friends. But it got to a point where even the friends got tired. People get tired. What do? So instead of resorting to a point where you want to now kill yourself, because sometimes some problems can be too much, people become suicidal. Get to learn to pour out to God. How can we do that? Okay, we're not going to talk about how we can begin to pour out to God, but it's something that everybody needs to learn to do. So Hannah used to go to the temple and she would pray and she would cry out to God and she would worship there. And this is what I'm encouraging every one of us to do. If you are going through any situation, a situation that you've spoken to God about, a situation that you've spoken to your husband, your parents, or anybody else about, the situations that only God can change, the situations that only God will be able to touch and to heal. So this is what I'm encouraging us to do today, that when you are confronted with a situation, it doesn't matter what it is, instead of going around the place and fighting people that are provoking you, it's better to just get to God and to pray. So I'd like to encourage us also to trust God, while we are waiting. Is there something that you are waiting for from God? Have you been praying and this thing has not come? Could be healing, children, it could be financials. What situation are you in today? So only you know, and only you know what you want God to do for you. So I would like to encourage you to get to God and to cry out to God. So secondly, something else that I wanted to share with you regarding Hannah was her trust in God, okay? Her trust in God concerning the child. So we see that she had a son, and at the end of the chapter, she had 5 more. Okay, so she had in total 6 children. But when she had this first child, she had promised God that if God gave her a son, she was going to give back that son to God. And, he wasn't going to take any strong drinks and he wasn't going to shave off his hair. So we make a lot of promises to God. When we want something and when we are desperate, there are so many times when we want something like now and we are saying, God, if you